Tonight, the city is moving forward with plans for repairs to the Aquatic Center, which will have tax implications. Plus, with the rail strike looming, we look at how Northern B.C. will be impacted by supply chain issues. And weeks after the wildfire threatened Barkerville and Wells, the communities are struggling with tourism. Good evening, folks. I'm Eddie Huband, and welcome to CKPG News. We begin tonight with some major civic news that has tax implications for the community. At Monday night's City Council meeting, Council passed a bylaw that authorizes the city to borrow over $22 million for improvements to the Aquatic Center. But the decision was not universally welcomed by members of Council. Adam Burrows reports in tonight's top story.
The city is going ahead with borrowing $22,150,000 for improvements to the Aquatic Center. Back in April, Council approved additional capital works to the Aquatic Center project, and an alternate approval process was approved to gain the assent of the electorate. If 10% or more of registered voters oppose, Council must either abandon the plan or seek approval through a referendum. But less than 1% submitted opposition forms.
AAP has its own challenges because especially try to do the process in middle of the summer when everybody's off. It was, in my opinion, the advertise was done, but for that size of money to be spent, it should be in the form of referendum during the election.
The mayor says that when it comes to the improvements, such as the replacement of change room tiles and repairs to the structural columns, there could be other alternatives to explore.
I feel there's a maybe different way to doing it, using the money to some expansion, and then perhaps even bring some private investment in at the same times.
The money borrowed will be paid back over a 20-year period, and the service debt that will be taken on by the loan cost would be just over $1.8 million per year, resulting in a 1.34% increase to the property tax levy. Councillor Garth Frizzell says that by getting the improvements done now rather than waiting will be beneficial.
When we make our purchase now, when we get our construction done now, that means we don't face escalating costs. By getting it done now and getting 2 projects done, or 3 projects, or 4 all at the same time, it's great because we're a center for things, for major competitions coming up, and we have to have good facilities.
Mayor Simon Yu says that he knows that the Aquatic Center needs maintenance, but wants to see the value before any commitment.
I know the pool eventually requires some maintenance, and it just I just want to see the better value analysis done, and before we make the commitment.
Adam Burrows, CKPG News.
A BC United press release has shown that Prince George Mackenzie BC Conservative candidate Rachel Weber was promoting claims on social media that 5G cell towers are genocidal weapons and the cause of the COVID-19 pandemic. The posts were made back in 2020 on Facebook and claimed that 5G is a weapon and that 5G is linked to the spread of COVID-19, which will mess with the absorption of oxygen in the human body. CKPG reached out to Rachel Weber and John Rustad. Rustad did respond to this information coming out. Here is what he had to say.
I support all of our candidates and the work that they're doing. I'd like to say I'm not going to allow cancel culture to take root in this province. I think it has done too much damage. And I think it has been a significant part of the left wing's tools in terms of attacking people and going away from the real issues, getting away from the real issues that are out there. I don't believe that Rachel Weber believes that. She was simply sharing information. It's certainly not something that I believe.
And Adam Burrows joins us now in studio for a check-in on the political landscape. Adam, so as we just saw, things are starting to ramp up here now that we are 2 months away from this provincial election. Do you see that trend continuing?
Absolutely. We're getting into the nitty-gritty days. 2 months isn't that much time if you think about it until an election. There's a lot of campaigning that the parties have to do. There's some parties still have to announce candidates for certain ridings. So the war of the words is going to definitely be prominent in the next couple of months, and you're going to see more barbs, more attacks, personal attacks on party leaders, on candidates, and it's going to be a very eventful 2 months coming up because this is not the end of campaigning like this for sure.
And just to touch on that, the polls are quite close now. Polls don't mean everything, but do you see these tactics continuing? These sort of aggressive tactics by these parties as we get closer to this election?
I do. Any tactic that a party can use to get a leg up on their opponent will be used. Tactics like BC United today, releasing that press release about Rachel Weber and her social media post from 4 years ago, that's going to be used to get any lick of attention on them and not necessarily, but that type of campaigning can also backfire because, BC United put out the press release about Rachel Weber and the social media posts. Does that put more attention onto BC United, or does that put more attention onto Rachel Weber? Well, it could not work. It could work out with more information, more eyes being drawn to Rachel Weber and her candidacy for the Conservatives. You just don't know how that's going to work out. Devil's advocate, you just don't know what's going to happen. So more tactics like this are going to be used by parties, I would say by all parties, to try and get any advantage that they can on their opponent in the weeks leading up to the election.
Now, going back to the polls for a second here, the Conservatives, they're up in the polls, and they're closing in on the NDP here. Is news like this going to hurt the Conservative Party?
Well, it's hard to say. We're only in a few hours into the news, but of Rachel Weber's and her social media posts regarding BC United and their press release about that. But what I can say is that other candidates have been removed from the BC Conservative Party previously, weeks past. That hasn't stopped the momentum per se, because the new poll that was released by Main Street Research, today, has the Conservatives up 3 points against the NDP in the lead. So will that mean anything coming up into the next couple of months? We'll have to wait and see, but it certainly looks like, despite similar trends that we've been seeing with other candidates, it doesn't seem to be stopping the Conservative train from rolling.
It's going to continue to heat up as the next 2 months, as we get closer to that provincial election. Anna Burles, thank you very much, as always. In other news, police have confirmed that they responded to a shooting on Abu Street on Sunday evening, just before 8:30 p.m. Prince George RCMP received multiple reports of shots being fired in front of a residence on the 700 block. Frontline police officers attended the residence and discovered one man had been driven away with possible gunshot wounds, while several other people remained in the residence. A search warrant was issued on the property.
In total, 4 people were arrested that were involved in the event. Right now, we're still looking for any other witnesses who haven't already spoken to police, might have dash camera footage or video surveillance of what occurred, just so we can gather all the evidence and paint as clear a picture as we can. During the execution of the search warrant, police officers located and seized firearms, drugs, some potentially stolen items, as well as some other things that were in the home during our investigation.
Canada's 2 national railways are poised to hit the picket lines this week. The province's largest port is already sounding the alarm, while shippers are opting to take a different direction. And the impacts of a looming strike will be felt everywhere. Cheryl Jan has more on what Northern B.C. should expect if there's a strike on the railroads.
9,000 unionized rail workers with Teamsters Canada Rail Conference are expected to be off the job this week, disrupting a key link in the supply chain for almost everything, regardless of where you are.
We are one of the large majority of Canadian communities that make our living by selling stuff to the world. To get stuff to the world, you need to be able to ship it. And the large majority of shipments go by rail. Port of Vancouver, 2/3 of all product that moves through the Port of Vancouver gets there by rail. 90% of international imports to Canada through Vancouver come by rail. We don't grow enough food to feed ourselves.
The Port of Vancouver has already spoken out about the potentially detrimental impacts of a strike via Facebook. But in the community of Prince Rupert, the Fairview Container Terminal has a capacity of 1.6 million 20-foot equivalent units per year. The potential strike is worrisome for the community's mayor.
But once shippers reroute traffic, it's really hard to get them to reroute it back. It's not like they'll just go somewhere for a day or a week or a year. They make new relationships. They make new commitments.
The other concern is supply chain, but less so items that can come by truck. But it's a matter of timing.
If Canadian Tire wants to have Halloween goods on its shelf by, the time within which they can sell it, it has to be shipped at a certain date. And getting it 3 weeks after Halloween, pointless, right? More than pointless, costly, because now what do you do with those goods? And so that's the challenge.
Charles Scott says some of the shippers are already sending a message to Canadian receivers.
Maersk, the largest shipping company in the world, stopped taking product that is coming to Vancouver if that product is going to be moved by rail. Started a week ago. The minute this happened, the largest container shipping company in the world stopped taking product shipped to Canada that had to be moved by rail.
Scott says what is vastly different with this job action, Canadian Pacific Kansas City and the Canadian National don't negotiate as a bloc. They typically rotate talks. Workers with both Canadian Pacific Kansas City and Canadian National Railway will be in a position to walk off the job Thursday morning. And according to Charles Scott, based on the nature of the dispute, this is way beyond saber rattling. Cheryl Jan, CKPG News.
Saturday will be a very special day at the Ukrainian Catholic Church in Prince George. From 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., there's going to be a fundraiser of sorts in the church on Massey Drive. There will be a food court, with unique Ukrainian foods, and the event marks two occasions, beginning with Ukrainian Independence Day. All funds raised will go towards rebuilding a demolished hospital in Kiev, a casualty of the war.
But today, we have redefined the understanding what is independence and the price for independence, and what is actually celebration. Quite often we take for granted many of those things like independence. Today, we as Ukrainians, we know the price of this independence. And to celebrate, it means to be involved. This independence depends very much on every single person. So on August 24th, we'll have a food fair. We have vendors, and all the food will be Ukrainian. Some of the food will be probably for the first time introduced into our community. I'm 100% sure you never tried this food. So, and all the proceeds will go to the rebuilding that hospital.
A month ago, Barkerville and nearby communities were forced to close and evacuate due to wildfires. And while Barkerville has since reopened, the economic loss is still being felt. And other events like Arts Wells aren't as lucky. They were completely postponed. Tommy Osborne has more now on the impacts felt in both Barkerville and Wells.
Wildfires have had a large impact on many communities in our province, and for areas that rely on tourism, closures have been particularly tough. Barkerville had to close for 12 days due to evacuations earlier this year, while Arts Wells, unfortunately, was postponed entirely.
It's a loss of about $90,000, but that's not also including the other things that are affected by having to close. The other businesses that rely on Barkerville being open, also our merchants who are independent business operators here in Barkerville.
There's a whole huge factor of things from the vendors that are, supplying artistic wares and food to vendors that supply the more kind of like hidden things like our toilets and other things like that.
Barkerville has luckily been able to reopen, but unfortunately, recouping that lost revenue has been challenging following evacuations.
People are wary to travel when there's fires happening, not just the one that was affecting us here in Barkerville, but also throughout the province. Smoke is also a deterrent, and it hasn't helped that there have been highway closures and whatnot over the last couple of weeks.
Arts Wells didn't even have the chance to take place this year, and beyond the economic impact of the lost tourism and business a huge event like that brings, the loss is also devastating for the arts community itself.
It sometimes feels silly to say that I feel a lot of grief about not going to the festival this year, but it is. It's like losing an experience and losing a time to be with your family and to be with your friends and to create those moments and experiences that take us through the darkest parts of the year.
Both Barkerville and Wells want to remind people that even though wildfires have caused challenges, they thankfully survived the fires, so you can still visit.
Wells is still a beautiful place even when Arts Wells isn't happening, and it's still very special.
Arts Wells is being planned to make its long-awaited return for 2025, while Barkerville hopes to operate on full capacity with all of its special events next year. Tommy Osborne, CKPG News.
When attending an indoor gym to work out, it's important to ensure the space is a safe environment to work out for everybody. On this week's To Your Health, we highlight some important gym etiquette.
And now to your health. Brought to you by Hard Drugs, 3rd Avenue Pharmacy, and the Phoenix Pharmacy.
September is fast approaching, and as summer begins to wane, more people are beginning to use indoor gym facilities. When using those facilities, it's important to care for the equipment to ensure that you aren't ruining the experience for others. One important piece of gym etiquette is putting away equipment, because some people might not be able to move around the same amount of weight as you.
If somebody can't take down a 45-pound weight or more, we're not putting them in danger of being hurt or risk of safety or anything like that.
Another important rule of thumb is to not slam your weights down after a set, as you could cause damage to the equipment.
You can do it on the squat racks, is totally fine, but if you're doing it in other areas of the gym, it actually causes the weights on the machines to start to kind of wear and tear, and therefore you're not going to be able to use those machines very long.
And it doesn't just hurt the equipment, it could hurt you as well.
You can totally tear things, and by doing things that you're not able to actually fully lift weight from, you can sometimes go over what you think you should be able to do, and then you can cause hurts and pains and tears and all that kind of stuff within your body.
If you see someone using something that you need for your set, don't just take it, but rather ask when it'll be available.
Some people will go up and ask how many sets or reps are left with that piece of equipment. They do a lap, they talk about it, or some people ask to join in, others aren't comfortable with that. So basically, the nice part about the sports center is you can walk the track, and then you can go around and kind of see when somebody's starting to wipe it down and clean up, and then you can ask to be the next one on.
And of course, always clean off anything you use to ensure you aren't spreading any germs.
Before and after, it just ensures safety for yourself, as well as we all learned during COVID, wiping things down and making sure that the area around you is as clean as possible is usually just the best practice all the way around.
Sam Benison, CKPG News.
To your health. Brought to you by Hard Drugs, 3rd Avenue Pharmacy, and the Phoenix Pharmacy.
As of this morning, the lowest gas price in Prince George was sitting at $1.67.9 per liter at Costco. The lowest price in the province is in Mission at $1.55.9 per liter. Manitoba has the lowest fuel prices on average in Canada at $1.46.1 per liter, while BC has an average price of $1.72.6 per liter.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Domino's. Join the Domino's Lunch Club with 25% off all regular price pizzas every day. Visit Domino's.ca to join the club.
The wait is over, soccer fans. The UNBC Timberwolves men's soccer team kicks off the 2024 Canada West season this weekend. The T-Wolves start the year in Abbotsford for a Friday-Sunday doubleheader against the Fraser Valley Cascades. Last year, the T-Wolves finished 5th in the Pacific Division with a 5-8-2 record. The Cascades, meanwhile, were 7th with a record of 3-13. UNBC is looking to build off of last season with its young roster, though last season's team points leader Michael Henman's departure will certainly be felt. Their younger players are definitely excited to step up and fill that void. And the team thinks its youth movement should actually give it an advantage out on the pitch.
I think a lot of teams are going to have hard time matching our energy, especially we have a lot of younger guys and who has, crazy speed in the attacking line. So I think people are going to notice our speed and energy.
The TSX is down 79 points to close at 23,037. The Dow Jones is down 62 points to close at 40,835. And Artemis Gold went up 29 cents to close at $13.10.
Good evening again, everyone. A look back on our satellite, and mainly cloudy out there throughout much of our region of the province, and looking at the showers potentially again moving through a lot of areas tonight. So again, this system that's pushing in is intensifying a little bit for the evening hours. So we're looking at a better chance tonight and then a lingering chance tomorrow. So the futurecast here, you can see going into our early morning tomorrow, there's still lots of active weather. The pattern is quite active right now for both tonight and tomorrow. And in fact, some areas of the region will see a greater chance of showers or even rain than some other areas. We don't anticipate too much in the way of any thunderstorm activity, some of that to the east, as you can see there, but certainly it is going to be quite wet across much of our region. And there it is there for our day tomorrow. So we are looking at a chance of showers tonight, a pretty good chance actually, and then that goes into parts of our day tomorrow. But the biggest thing here is our high only up to the 18-degree mark. So those upper teens is where we're going to see the temperature get to tomorrow, and that will be for many areas across the region. So it is going to be a bit chilly tomorrow, considering where we've seen temperatures the last little while. It'll be cooler up in Fort St. John as well, so a little bit of a cloudy and cool pattern there. Southern interior, Okanagan, even down through Vancouver, some wet weather expected. So there's the chance of showers here and there throughout the next couple of days for sure. Up actually in Prince Rupert, it was showery and cooler today. Tomorrow, actually a bit of an improvement there, 17 degrees with sunshine, but down through the south coast, a lot of active weather going forward. 16 Burns Lake for your day tomorrow, so it is going to be a cool and wet one, and likely not just showers. Burns Lake looking at more so rain and drizzle throughout the day. 17 Vanderhoof, Fort St. James as well will sit around that. So these are temperatures that are quite cool, and we've been used to warmer temperatures as of late, so looking like it will be noticeably cool tomorrow. Cooler along the coast as well at 18, and rain in the mix. 23 tomorrow. Edmonton, it was a great day there today. Tomorrow looking at a different story, so a bit of a cooler pattern and a wetter one as well. 28 Regina. Thunderstorm activity is still possible there as we go in through Winnipeg. It is mild but cloudy, and actually looking at some low-lying clouds as well, so feeling a bit socked in there. 16 Montreal, quite cool, but you will see some sunny breaks there and down through Toronto and over towards the Maritimes as well. So a sun-cloud mix late week. So as we jump into our Thursday, or ahead to our Thursday, that's sort of when we start to brighten back up again, and we actually have some really nice weather for Thursday, Friday, Saturday at this point throughout much of the region. So that's kind of where we'll brighten up a little bit and get back to a milder trend. But certainly you can see here, Burns Lake, it is going to be cool tonight at 9 degrees, rain and drizzle, and that carries into your early morning tomorrow especially, and only a high of 16 by the afternoon. But jumping back up to 22 for Thursday, Friday, and extended forecast in Mackenzie doesn't look as wet, but certainly a little bit cooler going forward into the day tomorrow. And then Thursday start to rebound just a little bit. McBride, 8 overnight tonight with partly cloudy skies. We've got clouds in the mix tomorrow with a few showers here and there as well. And then you're looking good for Thursday, Friday. That's a drying pattern for at least a couple of days. It'll be a wet one for Quesnel tonight and tomorrow. And then after that, quite pleasant, milder up to 24. And this is it for us. So a cooler day tomorrow, but there's an improvement after that. 18 for our high. Again, showers tonight into tomorrow as well. There is still the chance. And then after that, we dry out for a few more days.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Domino's. Join the Domino's Lunch Club with 25% off all regular price pizzas every day. Visit domino's.ca to join the club.
Tonight's CKP3 is all about the home run ball, as last night's baseball action had an incredible walk-off and a rookie's first grand slam. Enjoy.
Starting off with a grand slam.
Del Castillo gives it a ride. Deep center, way back, and gone. It's a grand slam in Miami for the Miami rookie.
A grand slam always feels awesome, but it was extra special for Arizona Diamondbacks rookie Adrian Del Castillo. Not only was it his first ever grand slam, he's actually from Miami. His family and friends were all in attendance for that once-in-a-lifetime moment, and the 4 runs Del Castillo brought in ended up being the difference in a 3-run victory over the Miami Marlins. Next, a walk-off winner.
Alvarez swings and he drives one deep left center field. Mullins looks up and it's out of here. Alvarez swings 3-0 and he wins the game for New York with a walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th.
No doubt about this one for Francisco Alvarez. He knew he had the game winner the second his bat connected with the ball. Citi Field knew it had a winner too. That crowd erupted as Alvarez delivered an exciting win for the Mets. Finally, the Dodgers come to life.
With one out and nobody on. High fly ball, deep center field. Robles on the run, turns and it's gone! Gavin Lux on a night where it feels like it might just be one swing has provided the first.
It was a defensive battle up until the 7th inning when the Dodgers finally got the bats going. Gavin Lux delivers with this rocket to get the Dodgers on the board, and Max Muncy joined in on the fun shortly after. Those 2 home runs would be the only runs scored in a 3-0 LA win in tonight's CKP3.
That's all for tonight, folks. Thanks for joining us as always, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a good one.